Hi, and welcome to the second part of Quarantine. And today's message has to do with integrity. And again, I want to go back to the book of Job and to see how this story is developing. In Job chapter 2, you have almost the same scenarios in chapter 1, except with a couple of details, and the story progresses a little bit. And there's a couple of things I want to highlight. Again, there is another reunion where the sons of God come before God, and Satan appears, and God asks him the same thing as he did in the previous chapter. Where are you coming from? And Satan answers, I'm coming from the earth, from walking up and down it, from going to and fro. In other words, it's my world, and that's where I'm coming from. And God answers in the same way. But have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth? He's a blameless man, one that fears God and eschews evil. And then he adds this one more detail. And he still holds fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without a cause. And so here again, Satan is claiming that the earth is his and that it's his kingdom. And yet God is telling him that if that were so, Satan, if the earth was truly yours, have you considered the fact that there's somebody who has no allegiance to you that lives on the same planet that you're going to and fro in? And this is what God is trying to show Satan. Now keep in mind that there are other people present there too, the sons of God. And I promised you I would get to that. I'm going to do that in a future message. What I'm hoping that you're thinking is, why would God put Job out like that? I mean, he's almost setting him up for harm. At least that's what it seems like. But he's not. What God is doing is he is presenting before Satan somebody who he's really proud of. So basically what he's doing here is he's showing off Job. Like a diamond in the rough. Have you considered this brilliant man that I have here? And of course Satan doesn't like that, and he tells him, skin for skin, yea, all that a man hath will he give for his life. So in other words, he'll give everything just to save his life. But God already told Satan what was making Job faithful, and it was his integrity. We don't talk much about integrity in the world today because it's become commonplace to lie, cheat, and steal. Look out for number one. Do what you got to do. Put yourself first. Honesty and morality have been swept away. We don't talk about those things anymore. Integrity just isn't something that we talk a lot about. And it's such an important characteristic. And I want to tell you why. There's a text that I found in the Review and Herald dated March 10th, 1903. It says this: truthfulness and integrity are attributes of God. And he who possesses these qualities possesses a power that is invincible. God was so proud of Job because Job showed that he had his character. And that's what made Job able to withstand the horrors and the calamities that Satan put him through. Only now it's about to get worse. So Satan claims that, you put a hedge around him, of course he's gonna be faithful to you, but let me touch him this time, and he'll curse you to your face. And God allowed it. He said, okay, you may touch him, but you can't kill him. And so Satan went and he wreaked havoc on Job. Boils came over his whole body. It describes as boils from the crown of his head to the bottom of his feet. I almost said shoe. It got to the point where he took a pot and broke it, and with the broken pieces he was scraping his own flesh. And yet he didn't understand what was happening. It got so bad that even his wife wanted for him to end his misery. This is what his wife said. This is Job chapter 2 and verse 9. Then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse God and die. Can you imagine that? I'm not sure how she meant that. It could be that she just couldn't stand to see him suffering anymore, and she knew that the only way out of that was to curse God. And yet Job answers her and says, "But he said unto her, Thou speakest as one as a foolish woman speaketh. What, shall we receive good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive the evil?" So obviously, his wife said something that was foolish to him. The point here is that Job was willing to die for his integrity. And why would a man do that? C.S. Lewis said, "Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching." Integrity means that you're whole. It means you're undivided. You're not fractured or broken. You're a whole being. And sometimes when you lose everything, all you really have is your word. And that's what you have to stand on. And God will honor that when you remain steadfastly faithful to Him. And when it seems like it's just too much for you to bear, God will hold you up. I promise you, He's done it with me many and many of times. But you have to maintain your integrity. You have to be truthful. Because when you're truthful, you have nothing to fear. Nothing. The truth shall make you free, Jesus said. Job was willing to die for his integrity because he preferred to die as a whole man rather than to live as a fractured one. A few chapters later, I want to read to you chapter 27, verse 3 to 6. I want you to see Job's reaction or his attitude towards the prospect of possibly dying for his integrity. It says, "All the while my breath is in me and the Spirit of God is in my nostrils." In other words, the breath of God is in me. I'm still alive at this point. He says, "My lips shall not speak wickedness, nor my tongue utter deceit. God forbid that I should justify you. Till I die, I will not remove mine integrity from me. My righteousness I hold fast. I will not let it go. My heart shall not reproach me so long as I live." Yet Job was willing to go to the grave rather than to sacrifice that which made him a man, his integrity. My wife mentioned that part 1 was directed towards the fellas, towards the guys, and she felt a little left out. So I promised her that I was going to make a video specifically for women as I did for the men. I'm not sure I'm qualified for that, but Lord willing. But this issue of integrity applies to all of us, man or women. It does not matter. I'm sharing it with you from the perspective of a man who's lived through this, a man who has not gone through what Job went through, but I've gone through trials and tribulations. I've gone through difficulties. And I want you to know that as long as you remain faithful, the world could be falling down around you. But keep your integrity and God will see you through. I promise you. I promise you. Job was willing to lose his life. He preferred to lose his life rather than to sacrifice his own integrity. And he says, "What, shall we receive the good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive the evil?" In other words, are we just going to expect God to do good things in our lives? And what Job is demonstrating here is that he is willing to accept all of God. He was willing to accept whatever God decided was best for him. He didn't have any partiality. He wasn't just going to say, I'm just going to accept the good, the blessings from you, Lord, but then when everything goes bad, now I'm going to curse you, now I'm going to turn my back on you. Job is saying, no. Shall we not accept the good and the evil as well? Of course, he doesn't understand, and it's not God doing this to him. But he thought he did, and that's the key. He was thinking that God was the one responsible for this. And we hear that all the time. Why would God do this? Why would God do that? Here Job is assuming that it is God doing it to him, and yet he still remains faithful. Here's the key. Be willing to be faithful even when you don't understand what's happening to you. Trust that God has everything in control and that He will see you through it. I promise you, you will not be ashamed for believing in Him. I promise you that. I just want to end with this verse one more time. This is verse 10, chapter 2, verse 10. But he said unto her, Thou speakest as one as a foolish woman speaketh. And And please don't take that to mean that women are foolish. That's not what Job is saying here. And please, please, please don't get that takeaway from what Job is saying here. Well, all he's saying is that what you said is foolish. And it wasn't because she was a woman. It's because what she said was foolish. And he said, what? Shall we receive the good at the hand of God? And shall we not receive the evil? In all this did not Job sin with his lips. And once again, he proves that what Satan had originally charged, that if you let me touch him, he'll curse you to his face. Now, this is just the beginning of the book of Job. Job is going to go through 36 chapters of this suffering, and his friends show up, and they're not very encouraging. Perhaps I'll give you some highlights, but towards chapter 38, God comes to speak to Job. And these are some of my favorite passages in the Bible. I hope I get an opportunity to share them with you. I do want to come back to the meeting that was taking place with the sons of God being gathered and why Satan came to begin with. There's just so much to unpack. So I hope that you are doing well. I hope that you're staying safe in this quarantine. I had the privilege of treating some COVID patients this past week, and it's humbling, and it made me grateful to be in health and that I'm able to do that. I'd like to leave you with this blessing from Numbers chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace.